was magical, Patrick. Thank you so much. And thank all of you for joining us today here at LAAPA. And my name is Ryan. Joining me today are Patrick, one of our students here, and also one of our faculty members, Mr. Carter Elkins. And we're here today to talk to you about all things related to the piano. Okay, piano lessons, what kind of piano you should get for your piano lessons, and the different makes and models of digital pianos in particular. We're going to go through a number of different models that are available today. We did a video years ago, and I felt it was time to re-examine what is currently available on the market. And this is a big question that comes up. I think you can attest to this, Mr. Carter, when you're a beginning piano student, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
What should I get at home to practice on? And that depends on a number of things. And usually, if they're a student who is brand new, they probably don't know if they're going to love the piano yet, right? So generally, an acoustic piano is not always the right fit. So a lot of times we just say, hey, try a keyboard. And you want to know what kind of keyboard to get that's going to be quality and it's going to serve you for a couple years, maybe at least 1 year. And then if you do enjoy it, then you go get something nicer, an acoustic piano or something like that. Is that what you've kind of found? You know?
Yes, that's pretty much the gist,
Okay.
yes.
Great. And you can get a digital piano for as little as probably $100 to $150. You know, you can find something that will function as a piano for that amount of money. We like to start things around the $250 range. This is what we would consider a low-end model. And I say low-end, but let's just say entry-level model. It has 61 notes on it. And typically you'll find with digital pianos, 61 notes is kind of the minimum that you want. You also want something with full-size keys, right? There are a lot of micro keyboards and tiny little keys that are fun for professionals to toy around with. But for beginning pianists, get a full-size keyboard. And also, the touch sensitivity. You want something with good touch sensitivity that has a good velocity curve is what it's called. And Patrick, why don't you do a quick velocity curve test?
Oh boy, here we go. So this is, it's actually surprisingly good. Surprisingly good.
So when we hit it softly, it's going to be soft, loud is loud, and everything in between. That's kind of the real test. So this is the NP11 by Yamaha. And again, it's great for brand new beginners and just something to consider when you're looking for a digital piano. And with today's test, we are going to mainly only focus on the piano sounds. So all of these models behind me, actually, we should talk about because they're part of our fall referral contest. We're giving all of these away, okay? So you, if you're a current student here, if you refer a friend or a family member or a colleague or a neighbor's second cousin, anything
Twice
like that,
removed.
right, and they sign up for lessons, then you'll automatically be entered into our giveaway. This fall, it'll be the first week of November. And it will be random. It will be any one of these models. The fourth, we're giving away 3 of them. The fourth piano will be a separate contest, so you'll have to tune into a different video for that. We'll announce that later. But we're going to play all of these today and show you, they're going to all rate them and give you their opinions of having played them. Again, they're all going to have different features. We're not going to get into any of that. You can read the manual, because we all love to read the manual, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we'll share what we learn with you along the way. So without any further ado, we're going to start with the Yamaha NP11, which I think I mentioned was around $250. It's discontinued now, but there's a similar model available. And this also has built-in speakers and runs on batteries. We're running on battery power right now. So take it away, Patrick. Thank you both very much for that. So the Yamaha NP11, we'll go over a couple of other things that I thought of that I didn't talk about. So number one, the pedal. This does come with a pedal. Usually all of these models are going to come with what we call a black square pedal, which usually you want to upgrade that mainly for the rubber that you get with a real pedal so it doesn't slip around and slide around. Otherwise, you're going to want some duct tape or something so that you're not kicking the thing all around. Number two, we are recording. Most of these are going to be recorded in mono just because it only has a single headphone out and we don't have an adapter cable to split left and right. We do have professional direct boxes. So if any of these have an actual left and right, we will record it in stereo for you. Overall piano tone, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give the piano tone?
Personally, I'd probably give it a 4. It passes muster, but it's not that great. I've heard better.
I completely agree with Mr. Carter.
Okay, yeah. And if you were a brand new beginner who didn't want to spend a ton of money,
This is a perfectly fine option, I would say, if you're not really sure if you're going to take to the piano. You just want something to kind of, it gives you the keys, everything is oriented the way it should, so it's not really flashy, doesn't sound, you know, somebody used to playing on something else will really feel the difference. But if you're brand new, it should get you a little bit of the way until you know enough to commit a little bit more.
Gotcha. All right, and let's talk about the action, because this is a sensitive subject on something like this.
Yes.
And I think before we talk about that, let's talk about it from the approach of a beginner, right? They're not used to touching a piano, and their fingers don't know what it's supposed to be like on a real piano. How would you rate it in that sense first?
The action, meaning how it feels to press down the keys and everything, I would say that's the keyboard's greatest weakness, because it doesn't feel weighted in any way, meaning that there's not really, when I press a key, I'm not really getting any pushback like you would on an acoustic piano. That's the reason why it's one of the most important things to look for in a more permanent keyboard, because it gets you used to how the piano in your lessons is going to feel, the piano in your performances, how that's going to feel. So it's a really important feature that I wouldn't overlook for sure. And that's the area that this one has compromised the most in. So it definitely feels very unusual. It creates loud notes in places where you didn't really mean them to be loud, and soft notes that you didn't really intend to be soft. And that's the result of that, just the light action there.
Right, and so I would say all pianos or keyboards in this price range are going to have an action like this, which is more like what we call a synth action, built for synthesizers or organs or that kind of thing. It's very light. Both of you who don't make mistakes usually, it's hard to play because there's no resistance.
Yeah, it is.
So just be aware of that. I mean, as a beginner though, when you're just trying to find, all right, where's middle C? How can I play this note? Fine, you want to do that for a little while, but not too long, because as Mr. Carter said, you have to develop good habits and knowing how hard to press a key. And when you perform on stage with a real piano like we use, and at lessons, you want to develop that touch that's appropriate. So Patrick?
Absolutely. This is probably the hardest time I've ever had playing a keyboard, and I sat down and I was like, I'm not used to being able not to know what to do, because like Mr. Carter said, you're kind of slipping and sliding all over the place. Can't quite hit things the way you want them to. The dynamic thing is a big thing for me as well. Sometimes you're hitting notes that you meant to be loud and they come out soft, and mainly it's soft notes becoming loud because of the lack of weighted action in this. But absolutely, for the first few weeks of a beginner, I would say this is a very good introduction to what a piano is like in terms of sounds. You know, it's a very good entry piano.
Yeah, and you both mentioned the touch sensitivity, the velocity curve. So it's hard to detach that from the action, right? Because it might have a good velocity curve, but without a good action, you can't really trigger what you want. So that's something to be aware of in this price range too. Polyphony-wise, it's 32-note polyphony. I don't think we heard any problems with that in there. That's going to be the least of all of these pianos that we have. The weight, that's like the best of all of these, right?
Yes.
And again, it runs on batteries, super portable, easy to lift and move. So yeah, I think that's overall, what would we give this piano? So all features thought on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, I'd probably give it a 5 out of 10. I don't intend to be so harsh because I will note that a lot of the places where this piano compromises are because it's designed for something a little different than practicing at home for lessons in most cases. So somebody who's in a band, for example, who needs to carry this around all the time would probably find this very useful. It's just for the sake of lessons and practicing. It doesn't really, it gets you the very first few steps, but if you practiced on this for a long period of time, I think any of my students would probably be causing themselves just as many problems as we're gaining by practice. So I'd probably give it a 5.
Okay, Patrick?
Around there too, I'd give it a 4.5.
4.5, okay. Yeah, so long term we don't want to be using something like this, but just getting started, it's okay. So yeah, just to try things out and see where you want to go with the piano. That would be our recommendation for this one. All right, great. Let's move on to piano number 2. We're back now with the Roland FP10. We've got it all set up here. And a couple of quick initial observations. Number 1, it does not have a full-size 1/4-inch jack. And I'm assuming a lot of these might be in the same boat. We're now talking about all of the pianos that we're going to give away. So these are all in the $500 range, and they all have 88 keys. They all have a weighted action. So in my opinion, these are all going to be great instruments for you to use after you get a basic beginning keyboard. This would be the next step up if you're not ready for an acoustic piano yet. So all of them, 88 keys. Not all of them will have built-in speakers, so you'll be dealing with a headphone jack of some kind. That's what we're listening to today. And we're going to listen to the FP10 now. Here we go. So this particular model was $480.70, so $480.70 with shipping. Is it worth it compared to
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I cannot express how much this step up is worth the money. I sat down, I played one note, and I said, now this is a keyboard in terms of how it sounds, the way it feels, how big it is. I mean, it's great. Everything about this piano, I love it.
Okay, yeah, it's a big difference, Carter. Would you concur?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think there are three things that jumped out to me that were better. One, of course, is the added keys. With the first one, I was actually having to shorten my, change up my arrangement a little bit because I just didn't have as many keys. You really underestimate sometimes how much you use. The more you grow in music, the more you use those outer keys. So that was nice. Having the full keyboard is great. Number two is the much greater, the keys are at least semi-weighted. They may be fully weighted, but I can definitely feel more pushback when I press down the keys, which is great. It closer simulates what playing on an acoustic piano would feel like. And so for somebody who mainly plays on acoustics, it was not nearly as jarring to get on this one. Most of the notes, almost all the notes, sounded with just the right volume I was intending for them. The third thing that I noticed was that it sounds to me, this is just a hunch, but I feel like the notes that I'm pressing are more, they're not just the same piano sound that's been turned down volume-wise. It's more than just the volume that's being changed, but it sounds to me like there are maybe some additional sounds, because the sound that a real piano would make, if you press it softly, you're going to get a different sound than if you press the texture, the tone of that note is going to sound different if you then press the same one loudly. And I feel, the first one had some, to be sure, but I feel like this one they've put a little more work into that, a little more thought, and it really shows. It felt a lot more natural.
And you've got a jazz scat button.
We have a jazz scat button. Let's test that.
All right.
Okay.
Here we go.
Here we go.
All right.
Oh. Check out the velocity. Yeah.
I'd buy this keyboard.
I would give it points because it has more features than the last one. I would have to take some away because the controls are very finicky. The manual is much more necessary to understand exactly how to do it.
Manual's in the box.
Yeah, we obviously have not read it.
We don't read the manual here.
We're musicians now, so we don't do that kind of stuff. I would probably, it definitely gets higher than the other one though. I'd probably give it at least a 7.
Okay, Patrick.
I'd give it about a 6 because, like you said, you kind of have to learn how to get everything rolling to use all the features properly. Definitely, we're going to need to read the manual a little bit more on this one. But when you get down to it, the features are a lot more full and realized in this keyboard than the other keyboard, and they add a lot more to the experience of playing it, not just a cheesy sound or whatever. It's really good.
Okay, piano tone. The piano tone's on a scale of 1 to 10.
I would give the piano tone I'd probably stick with it a 7, yes. There were a couple of times where I ended up with sounds I wasn't intending. I know that goes beyond just tone, but they kind of all of those ideas kind of mesh. But I'd give it a 7. I'd give it a solid 7.
I agree.
Okay. Piano action. Scale of 1 to 10.
Here, I'd have to say about the same, because those two ideas they're distinct, but they interconnect in a lot of ways. That when you're playing can be hard to separate, as you're playing it. So yeah, I'd give it a 7.
Okay. And the polyphony on this is 96 notes. Again, we just mentioned that because you're not going to hear it.
There are 80-something keys on the piano. Huh?
There are 80-something keys,
88
but
keys, yes.
96 can be heard.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning if you double hit a note, maybe? I don't know how
Yes.
it works.
Yes, that's the idea. If you're hitting notes multiple times, how many times before you start losing
Right.
notes off the back end?
Yeah, so if you're hitting them double triggering and sustaining, yeah. Okay.
I'm not an expert on that, but I would think 92 would be plenty. I can't imagine you
Yeah.
missing, after 92, you missing the old ones. I certainly didn't in our playthroughs.
Weight of the keyboard for moving it. What do you think?
In terms of difficulty or accessibility?
How easy is it to move? It's not too heavy,
It's
right?
not too heavy.
Yeah, on the lighter side.
Yeah.
Probably in the, again, we didn't look this up, but you can, probably 30 pounds, I would think, 25, 30, something like that. All right, great. So that concludes the FP10. Hope you enjoyed that one. On to the next one, which is I think we're going to do the Casio next.
Casio?
Let's get that set up. The Casio CDP-S360. When you think of Casio, you think of little watches and little toy keyboards, but that's in the past, actually. For, I'd say, the past decade, maybe more, they've been putting out the Privia line, and I think this is a member of the Privia line. I'm not 100% certain, but it's a professional model piano. It's definitely not a toy. And this one is the most expensive out of all of the ones we're going to do today. This was $590-ish with shipping. There's actually a model under this that was out of stock, so we got this one to compare. So maybe that's a little unfair in terms of comparison, but you can instantly see the difference. It has a full screen for all of the sounds. It has a knob to change the sounds so you don't have to switch them on the keyboard itself. It has a lot of other buttons that you'll want to read about in the manual. Again, we're just looking at piano tones today. It has, Casio likes the duet mode too. They always have this duet mode where it'll shift the keyboard around for multiple players so that you can sit comfortably together. And again, we have just we have the 1/8 inch output on this, just like the FP10. We haven't yet had a 1/4 inch output on any of these so far. We'll see what happens as we progress. But again, this is going to be a mono recording. Mr. Carter, take it away. features. Let's talk about features on a scale of 1 to 10.
10. I think everything I need in a keyboard is right here.
Okay.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
What?
Take it away. That's the best thing I've heard in my entire life. That is absolutely a 10 out of 10.
Carter, features?
So in features, I feel like I don't know if we mentioned the difference in price between this one and the Roland, but I feel like the biggest difference is in terms of the features. You have the touch, it's not a touch screen, but you have a screen that does a lot more for you than just having to decipher through a combination of buttons pressed what's going on. So it communicates better with you. It's much easier to see what's going on, what you have selected, and what things are going to do, even without a manual. It seems a lot more plug and play, not a lot to figure out. So I would bet that that's the main thing that sets this one apart in terms of price from the others we've looked at, and it's worth it. It's worth it. I echo Patrick that I don't know. I can't think. Nothing comes to mind that I would need in practice that's not here.
Yep.
Yeah, the screen is definitely nice, makes it nice to see which sounds you're on. Actually, let's play a different piano sample real quick. Let's pull up a bright one. Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, that's what that is. That sounds great.
Yeah, all right, great. So tone-wise, what would we give the piano tone on this one?
I would have to say that it edges out the other one we played. I would give it an 8 out of 10. It has more depth to it. It's more lush and rich sounding down below, which is a place where a lot of keyboards tend to struggle a little bit in those deep tones, those low frequencies. And it sounds really good down there, I must say. So yeah, I'd give it an 8.
I completely agree with everything Mr. Carter said. 8 out of 10.
Touch and action, personally, I would give it a 7. I'll acknowledge I tend to be a little pickier because I play mostly on acoustics, but that it feels really good. You're never going to get anything that 100% feels the same, but this feels really good. I would not have any problem if a student told me they were practicing on this. I would not mind one bit. So I'd give it at least a 7.
I think I'd give it an 8, solely because in action-wise, it feels, actually, if you feel the keys, it feels more like a piano. I think what they do is called an Ivorite. I could be wrong, don't quote me on that, but it actually feels, the texture feels more like an actual acoustic piano.
Yeah, it does have, if you feel the keys, there's a synthetic texture of some kind on the keys. Yeah, we should look up what that's called. But yeah, it feels more like a piano key than just slipping and sliding on a typical keyboard. So yeah, very nice there. And how about polyphony-wise? We're at 128 notes, which is more than enough in your keyboard. That's great. Weight-wise, we're at about 24 pounds. All of these, I would say, are somewhere in that range.
Overall, I would give it an 8. I also want to make one observation. I didn't click until just now, but compared to the Yamaha, the first one we did that was not the full keyboard, I could be wrong, but I'm 90% sure that our black keys here are a tad bit thicker than these. Feel more like your regular size of that you'd find on a piano. I feel like the Yamaha may have shortened them just slightly. You know, talking millimeters, so just a tiny bit. But you'd be surprised how much you can feel that difference.
That is a great observation. Yeah, we are back with the Yamaha P45B, and I'm surprised that they still make this because I reviewed this years ago, or I guess it was a variation of it, but it's still being made. This one costs $464.31 with shipping. So definitely mid-range here, under 500 bucks. And it does have a piano rack. We didn't put it on because we're lazy. And it does have a pedal, a black square pedal. Again, we're using our little, did we hook up our pedal? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we're using that. It also has a 1/4 inch output, which I like. Thank you for that, Yamaha. That's standard. It does not have a stereo output, which none of them have yet. They're all headphone jack outputs, which means we're recording in mono again. Initial impressions, it's very sparse with controls. This is pretty much just like the Roland we used, with all of the sound selections are on the keys. You have a function button to change your sounds. Just a couple of different sounds too. It looks like we have 2 piano sounds, some E-piano, organ, strings, harpsichord, vibraphone. There is no jazz scat.
That's a shame.
Points off.
No jazz scat on this one, sorry. So let's go ahead then and we'll hear the Yamaha. Just had to get it in there.
The visual discomfort increases each time.
Thank you for sharing that, Patrick. All right. So with the P45, what are our thoughts on features? And obviously this has a pedal again. We're using our own pedal. Features, what do we think?
Well, in terms of the amount of features, it's pretty, what I would consider to be pretty bare bones for a keyboard. It does have the most important things that you would need, and it does appear to me like it has not just a metronome, but it looks like it has a lot of very specific control and maybe even programmability for the metronome, which is really nice because as a teacher, that's the number one thing. A lot of these features are kind of extra, you know, you don't need all of them, but the metronome you do need and will need frequently. So it is nice that there's seems to be pretty good control over that. But there's definitely not as much overall. And that is something to, you know, to consider. Are you going to need 500 sounds on your keyboard? Maybe not, but I would also say that, you know, for young kids playing on a keyboard, hearing the same sound, you know, 100 times as you play the song can get boring. And if you can switch to some strings or some brass or something, or
a rocket ship or something,
or a rocket, maybe not the rocket ship, but most of the instruments, some of them are you know, just for fun. But a lot of the instruments on there are really good to practice on and give you some, just keep things interesting and fresh. So I would have liked to see a little bit more on that in terms of the features. Oh, but one last thing I would note is personally, this is just personal taste, but this keyboard has my favorite version of the volume control of any I've seen, because it clearly communicates. It's easy to see from the player's perspective. You're not having to twist this dial and you're not really sure where it actually is. There's clear markings on there to where you can, if you have a certain spot you like, you can confidently get it to that spot every time, which for me is important, but that's more of a personal thing.
Mm-hmm. Great. Patrick?
Yeah, I think definitely we're going to acknowledge the fact that there's a lot less than the Casio maybe, but I think something also to consider that all the features on here I see are executed very well, and they go for a quality over quantity kind of mantra with this. I mean, the piano sounds, just the basic one, I'm very satisfied with. It sounds like an actual, you know, piano would, and it's very solid, honestly.
Good. Okay. So we're happy with the tone overall. What's quick score comparatively?
Yeah, I would give the tone a 7. It's not, in my opinion, it kind of comes down to personal taste at this point. It's so close. In my opinion, it's not as good as the last couple that we tried. I feel like this one has a little bit less definition in terms of the tone, and it makes up for it in terms of the playability, which I guess we'll talk about in a minute here.
Yeah. Yeah, this has to be the oldest sampling, I would think, because it's, like I said, I reviewed this years ago. So I don't think any upgrades have been made there. Yeah,
it sounds a little older.
Yeah.
To me, it sounds like when the technology had not advanced quite as much. So it's not upsetting or anything. I probably would only notice it because we're playing these all right up next to each other.
Yeah. Okay, action, piano action.
I gotta say that overall, this one is the most satisfying to play that I've touched today. And that mostly falls to the action and the velocity control. It feels really good. It feels, in my opinion, the closest to a real piano that I've played on so far. So they really nailed that part. Mm-hmm. I would give it probably a 9 in terms of
9. Okay.
Wow.
It's really felt really good.
Yamaha does a nice job.
Yeah, I agree. It feels really good. I have to disagree a little bit. I think the Casio one was probably the one that I felt the most familiar with playing, but this one is still incredibly good in terms of just the way the keys feel, the way you push down. The weight of the keys is very similar to most of the
weight. Yeah.
The weight. Yeah.
So this one, I know you like the feel.
I do really like the feel.
This one does not have the synthetic texture like the Casio did.
It doesn't, but the way you play it is very similar to an actual piano.
Right. So the graded hammer action is what you like.
I do.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Polyphony-wise, I think this one is 64 notes, if I remember correctly. So not too much higher than the first Yamaha we played, but still, do you hear the difference? No, not really. Right. Weight-wise, we're at 25 pounds. Okay. So similar there, and velocity touch response.
Oh. Reasonable.
Yeah, reasonable.
Reasonable.
There's less samples there than the newer ones, which has that part of and technology has come a long way.
Yeah.
So you can tell in that, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Great. Okay, well that concludes the P45B. And we are back now with the Kawai ES60. Now it was a little hard on the Kawai. I said it was going to weigh a ton, but it doesn't. It weighs the same as all the other ones. It's 24.5 pounds. And it has a left output and a right output, 1/4 inch. We're recording this one in stereo. This was released in 2024. This price that we paid was $502.55 with shipping. So this is the second most expensive one we've purchased. And what else? We have our same sustain pedal that we've been using. I liked the packaging on this one. It was easy to get the cords out, but that doesn't really matter, for you, just for us, for unboxing 4 keyboards. Got the music rack again. They all have music racks. What else? I think that's a good preliminary observation. So we're going to take it away, Mr. Carter. All right, so no Twinkle Little Star?
No, I don't think this keyboard deserves it.
Okay, let's talk about that. What did you not like on this keyboard?
It's oddly satisfying to play. The keys feel weird to push down. The weight is very, I mean, it's strange. It's not like something I'm used to. I don't mind it, and I do find it satisfying to play, and I was surprised by how much fun I was having playing it. The thing I don't like is how the notes actually sound. The tone on this one is a little bit funky for me. It sounds, I don't know how to put it. It sounds,
Let's try another one.
okay, it sounds very off-putting. Almost very tinny. See, look, listen to that. That E illustrates perfectly what the point I'm trying to make.
The feel of the keys, though, is pretty nice. It's not too slippery.
Yeah, in terms of the features, it's very comparable to the Yamaha. It feels almost to me like a direct response, maybe, to Yamaha's product, because their features are almost identical. This one has, you know, made slightly different choices, but essentially it's the same. You're not going to have any nice screen to work with, so you do have to kind of adjust a little bit to dealing with the keys and how that works, but everything else seems to be there. It does have the same high degree of control over the metronome, it would appear, and so that part is nice. So yeah, in terms of the features, it's not the flashiest, but it does seem to have the essentials, at least. Is a little disappointing to me, though, to see at this price point, not to see a little bit more. So yeah, that's as far as features go.
Okay. And Patrick found the transpose function on it.
I love the transpose function on keyboards. It saves me.
I hate the transpose
Yeah, I was about to
function.
say, teachers don't like that at all.
Well,
That messes with my mind.
Yeah, but it's a good tool to have.
indeed.
Yeah.
The thing I'm wondering right now is how the function button actually works, because I'm having a hard time I'm pushing it down, and it's not doing. Oh, there we go. Was that?
There you go.
Yeah, it seems
it's still not strings. I just hit strings.
yeah, if you press certain keys, holding down the function button, it lights up. But we, at this moment, have not been able to. Oh, there we go.
But that's not strings. That's an E piano.
It's an E piano, yes.
That is weird.
There it is.
Oh, I see.
On this
you have to
one,
hold down sound.
If you don't want to read the manual like us, you push the sound button and change the sound.
That's weird.
Which kind of makes sense. You know.
Yeah,
On
in
other
a strange
keyboards,
way,
it's the
yes.
function button. Let's
Right.
check this one out.
Get some attitude in there. Yeah.
Piano tone. How would we rate the piano tone overall?
I'm torn on the tone and on a lot of elements of this keyboard because again of the piano side of it. I don't overall. I feel a little of both. I noticed, especially when Patrick was playing, I noticed a very a clearer tone, a little bit more clarity in the notes. In quick notes especially, don't sound muddy and don't get lost. So that part's nice, but I do have to say that I think it's missing a little bit. Again, it sounds a little older than I would have thought. I would never have guessed this was from last year, because it doesn't sound like the piano sounds in general do sound a little older. I do like the clarity though, so you know, a little bit of a mixed bag for me.
Okay, Patrick?
Yeah, just kind of, I agree with what Mr. Carter was saying. I do like the expansion of the features, as opposed to the, whichever one, the Yamaha that we just looked at. I do think it compromises in some ways, mainly due to the sound, like we're just discussing. The sound is a little bit lessened here in quality, and I do prefer the Yamaha's sound by a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about the action?
I thought the action felt pretty good. I think most of my critique was towards the sound itself, but the action felt better than I expected that it would.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Weirdly satisfying.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we talked about the velocity curve, which we weren't crazy about with the sampling
Yeah.
that was triggered.
It does feel like
Yeah.
it's behind the current technology to me, I would say. If this were 10 or 15 years older, I would say it's right within, and so it doesn't feel like it's, a year ago,
Yeah.
Okay, good. Overall score.
Overall score, I can't rate it as highly as the Yamaha because it just doesn't quite have as much feeling, and because of the price, I guess I would give it maybe a 6, I suppose. That feels a little harsh because I did enjoy it. I wouldn't be upset by any means to own it or for one of my students to use it, but if I were buying one with my own money, if I'm going to pay $500 for one, I would probably pay just a little bit more and get the Casio that has the screen and the way more, much bigger leap in terms of functionality. I personally thought it had a slightly better piano sound anyway, so that's what I would do. But this is fine. If I would definitely not. It's not a bad keyboard by any means.
I'm torn between a 6 and a 7 because I do feel that 6 is too harsh because I do really like the way this keyboard feels just playing it. The sound does bring it down below at least an 8 for me, so it's either a 6 or a 7.
Okay, great. Fair enough. So that concludes the ES60 then. We're going to do one more now, and we're going to play an actual acoustic piano. So stay tuned. Just for fun, we're back here now with our Steinway M-Series grand piano, and this one was free. This was the cheapest one out of everything we've played today for us. Okay, Mr. Carter knows more about this than me, so Mr. Carter, what would this be new?
Well, new, it looks like it would cost you somewhere between $80,000 and $100,000. Wow. So definitely on the more expensive end, just a little bit.
Okay, yeah, so makes some of these keyboards look pretty good then. All right, great. For $500, you get a lot.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, as far as features and everything, it's an acoustic.
Features.
It's an acoustic piano. So it's all, wood and strings, and it plays one sound, the piano.
Those are the features.
That's the feature.
It features an incredible
and it has
monthly
3
payment.
pedals. It does have the sostenuto pedal. Which
It does. It does have some tricks up its sleeve.
we didn't have that on the keyboard. So anyway, here we go. let's just talk about tone. Let's talk about tone. Yes. What do we feel?
The tone, of course, is going to be amazing. It's going in the world of acoustic pianos. Of course, we're playing on practically the ideal, and your tone is going to vary a lot based on the wood that's used, the soundboard, and all of that good stuff. On this one, the tone is masterful. There's nothing like it, and there's lots of. But in general, with acoustic pianos, the big standout to me in comparison to our keyboards is that there's more tonal control, that you have more, it's more precise. There's less times of me pressing a key and thinking, oops, that's louder than I wanted it to be. It's much more, and that increases the longer you play too, but there's much more of a sense of the volume is right where you want it to be. You feel more in control, and you can feel, there's more feedback too, as you can literally feel some of the inner workings of that piano at play, versus the keyboards where it's computers, so there's nothing to feel. They can only simulate what you're feeling here. So it is, keyboards get closer, each year. The technology is getting really impressive. But it hasn't gotten to the point yet. There's just something a little different, a little magical about playing on an acoustic for sure.
Yes, and I would add to that we have not played keyboards today that, in all fairness, they don't really, it's a steep jump from what we played to this today. There are keyboards that are in the thousands of dollars where it's even better, in terms of technology and sounding similar and everything like that. But still, the sound has to come from somewhere, and it's coming from a speaker or two speakers in your ears. So psychoacoustically, it's going to be different when you have wood just resonating and strings resonating, because it's not coming from one place. It's, and Yamaha has the Avant Grand, which has a similar kind of setup with different speaker placements, and you can kind of get that, but still, I'm a big fan of wood and dampers, and you can hear the damper. That's a feature on some of the more advanced keyboards, the damper sound and the pedal noise, even pedal noise. You can hear the pedal lifting up and down. So they're trying to incorporate all of that in technology, but this is the real thing. So you can hear the difference. Patrick, what do you think?
Good.
Yeah, all right. And the Steinway is definitely a warm sound. Different pianos are going to have a different tone, like Yamahas are usually brighter, but you can adjust all of that with the damper hardness. Anyway. And
if I could just say as well, while we have kind of finished off here by sort of going to the nth degree and gone, with a super high, high-end expensive one, you can get the market for home level, practice level acoustic pianos is much. You're looking at more expensive than on a digital keyboard in general, but you don't have to choose between that or going in, getting a loan for your piano. You can get a pretty good home piano in most cases for somewhere between $500 and maybe $1,500 or $2,000 for a pretty nice home piano too. So it's definitely a commitment, which is why we, encourage the, exploring the keyboard options. But if you do know that you're ready for that commitment, you don't feel like you're going to have to be paying as much as for a car or for a house to get a good piano.
Right, and as someone who's bought a lot of pianos for our studios, I can tell you that if you check Facebook Marketplace, that's a great place to find cheap pianos that sometimes, like just last week, Carter, we got a beautiful Yamaha studio piano for free. Somebody just wanted to get it out of their garage. And the cost is in the moving, but if you have a pickup truck and a trailer and some time and a good back, see, I don't have the back anymore. Yeah. Last time I moved a piano, I said that was it. But you could get it for free, so your cost is in the moving and the tuning, definitely. But you can get a great instrument for the cost of a really high-end keyboard, or one of these, even $500. Yeah.
In some cases, yes.
Yeah, and you have beautiful furniture too, you know. But you have to actually commit to playing it. Don't just let it be furniture. If you make
Yes.
sure you play it. Play the piano. All right. Any final closing thoughts on today's?
What a wild ride.
Yes, it is. It has been a wild ride. I've been impressed, honestly, with the way that technology has increased since the time I was a kid. The keyboards I was exposed to are nothing like any of these. So there are some really good instruments out there for sure.
I should have brought my first keyboard. I think we still have it. It was a Kawai.
Oh.
And it had a great demo, but it had no touch sensitivity. Yeah, I just thought of that. That would have been fun.
Did it have Twinkle Twinkle Little Star,
It
though?
did not have Twinkle Twinkle Little Star built in
Man,
it.
points off.
Yeah, but
0 out of 10.
anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today's video on pianos, digital pianos. If you have any thoughts or questions, let us know. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Take care.